It's been a long and turbulent journey leading up to this event. Not only did we have to brave COVID and its delays from the initial date that this event was supposed to take part, and now we might be going into World War III, but hopefully we'll survive that. Despite all this commotion, we are finally here to launch PACRI to the world. And all thanks to the work and hard work and dedication of Prof. Zotet Lamini and the organizing committee of this event. Could we please all give them a round of applause? I'd like now to all just pay attention to the monitor so that we can have a look at the building that PACRI will be occupying soon. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be having a state-of-the-art center that will be able to tackle the African cancer genome. Firstly, to give us opening remarks, I'd like to welcome Prof. Tian Diaga to the stage. He's the Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences. Prof.
Thank you, Program Director. A special word of welcome in his absence, Dr. Joe Pala, the Minister of Health. Then obviously our Deputy Minister, Dr. Dlomo, our Vice Principal, our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Tuana Kupe, Dr. Phil Ndwara, the Director General of DSI, Professor Glenda Gray, the CEO and President of the South African MRC, Professor Dave Bates, the Director of the University of Nottingham's Cancer Centre, welcome back to you, Dr. Musomi, Chairperson of AfriBio, Mr. Mboniswa, Director of Nkaba Biotechnical Industries, Mrs. Elise Dubert, the CEO of Cancer, Professor Andrea Kaufmann, Professor Nelmondu, the CEO of the NRF, Dr. Matabula, I haven't seen her, the CEO of Steve Biko Academic Hospital, and then obviously Professor Zotwa Dlamini, the Director of PACRI, representatives of government and government officials, directors, speakers in attendance, members of the University of Pretoria Executive, Professor Maharaj, thanks for joining us well, members of the faculty executive, including the school chairs, distinguished guests, colleagues, students of the University of Pretoria joining us online, all protocol observed. I'm Professor Tiandi Jager, Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences at the University of Pretoria, and it's my honor to welcome you on behalf of the Faculty of Health Sciences at this official gala dinner of the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute, or as we by now know, PACRI. For the past 2 days, we've been engaged virtually and here at Future Africa Institute and Campus, which is an innovative research platform at the University of Pretoria that makes possible fundamentally new approaches to research and innovation that span disciplinary fields and geopolitical boundaries. The Pan-African Cancer Research Institute, or PACRI, led by Professor Zotwa Dlamini, is one of 14 entities housed in the faculty and the 4th research institute in health sciences. PACRI is part of the faculty's effort to reimagine research by creating conducive environments to deliver high-impact research that makes the difference locally and globally. The idea of a cancer entity originated when Dr. Wendy Ewart, then Deputy CEO and Chief Strategy at the UK MRC, visited the faculty on invitation. In a report, she mentioned, clear themes stood out where there was a convergence of interest from several researchers which could be harnessed to increase synergy and performance. These include cancer and environmental health. Now, we can translate environmental health to preventative cancer as well. The faculty has an impressive cancer research footprint in Africa, and the South African prostate cancer study was the first to introduce Africans in the genomic revolution. Adding the vision of Professor Dlamini to the current strengths in cancer-related research in the faculty led to the establishment of something much bigger, I think, than what we originally envisaged. Funded by UP, the South African Medical Research Council, the NRF, PACRI aims to be a world-class Pan-African research institute dedicated to pushing the boundaries of precision medicine, precision oncology, cancer prevention, and bringing new approaches to early diagnosis and novel therapeutic agents to improve health outcomes, reduce health inequalities, and strengthen the health system in underserved and socio-economic disadvantaged communities. The Faculty of Health Sciences has established its prowess as a leader in cellular and molecular medicine, including stem cell research, its transdisciplinary approach to malaria, diabetes, sports, exercise medicine and lifestyle institute, maternal and infant healthcare strategies, and then our initiatives on One Health. Now we add, obviously, cancer, and we hope to support the cancer initiative and make sure that it will be a success. Since the inception of PACRI, it was a cancer center of excellence where clinicians such as surgeons, pathologists, oncologists, and others work closely with the basic scientists. And those include also public health specialists, epidemiologists, computational biologists, and statisticians, to name just a few. I need to acknowledge the financial support from the UP executive for the new PACRI building, as you've just seen. That will be on Prinshof South Campus. The facility, including various laboratories, should be ready by October this year. We look forward to seeing the impact of PACRI and the effect that it will have on Africa through local and global partnerships. So to all the partners present tonight, a warm welcome and thank you also for your support. Pope John Paul II once said, "The future starts today, not tomorrow." Ladies and gentlemen, let's become #life changers. Step into the future by making today matter, and let's defeat cancer together. Congratulations, Professor Dlamini, and long live PACRI. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Diaga, for your words of support to PACRI. Now it seems that we have intruded into a man's home without having him welcome us first into his home. So now I'd like to welcome the Vice Chancellor of the University of Pretoria to come give us his opening remarks.
Thank you, Program Director. This place is called Future Africa. It's the future of all Africans. There is no intrusion. All are welcome. Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, Honorable Deputy Minister, Professor Zodwa Dlamini, Founding Director of PACRI, Professor Sunil Maharaj, Vice Principal, Research, Innovation and Postgraduate Education, Elise Dubert, CEO of the Cancer Association of South Africa, Dr. Elizabeth Waderpass, Director of the International Agency for Research on Cancer, Professor Glenda Gray, President and CEO of the South African Medical Research Council, Professor Fulufelo Nelomondo, Chief Executive of the National Research Foundation, Ms. Philisiwe Mtetwa, CE National Empowerment Fund, Dr. Matabo Matebula, CEO of the Steve Biko Academic Hospital, Professor Marco Fionni, Scientific Director, the FIRC Institute of Molecular Oncology Foundation, Professor David Bates, Director of the University of Nottingham Cancer Center, Dr. Phil Mjwaha, Director General, Department of Science and Innovation, Dr. Richard Kanyile, Head of the Department of Medical Oncology, Steve Biko Academic Hospital, University of Pretoria, Professor Mike Saterre, Head of Nuclear Medicine, Steve Biko Academic Hospital, University of Pretoria. May I extend my warmest welcome to our dignitaries and distinguished guests, and to everyone gathered here this evening for this immensely exciting occasion as we celebrate the launch of the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute by the University of Pretoria's Faculty of Health Sciences under the theme of Transforming the Fight Against Cancer in Africa, from cancer control and prevention to novel therapeutics for improved health outcomes. I would like to take this opportunity to thank every one of our esteemed delegates, partners, and sponsors who have contributed to a collaborative outcome which will have a substantially transformative impact both now and for future generations. I consider myself to be privileged to be in the presence of some of the world's greatest medical minds, and am reminded of the words of the most influential physicist of the 20th century, Albert Einstein, who said, and I quote, 100 times every day, I remind myself that my inner and outer life are based on the labors of other men, living and dead, excuse, of course, the gender inappropriateness there, is now different, and that I must exact myself in order to give in some measure, as I have received and I am still receiving, close quote. Thank you to each and every individual for living out the full potential of your unique skill in order to positively impact society. With this bold vision, to be a world-class institute dedicated to pushing the boundaries of precision oncology, cancer prevention, and bringing new approaches for early diagnosis and novel therapeutic agents to improve health outcomes, reduce health inequalities, strengthen health systems in underserved and socioeconomically disadvantaged communities. PACRI exemplifies everything which we strive towards as a leading African university. And we look forward to the results, which will come from harnessing the power of transdisciplinary research and strategic collaboration. Please enjoy the evening. You are here at the Future of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Cooper, for welcoming us. Now next, we'll welcome the woman who made this night all possible. She is the founding director of the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute and the director of the South African Medical Research Council, Precision Oncology Research Unit, and the DCSI NRF SACHI Chair in Precision Oncology and Cancer Prevention. Prof. Sweta has really, for some of us who are Pacrinians, as she called us last night, have really motivated us to really push the boundaries of research in cancer. Without her vision, passion, and tenacity, none of us would be here tonight. So, Prof, please come to the stage.
Minister of Health, Dr. Joe Pahla, Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Lomo, the Vice Chancellor of our university, Professor Tawana Kupe, the DG for the Department of Science and Technology, Dr. Mjwaha, all protocol observed. Good evening. Mine today is to take along where this started, where we are, and where we are going. The brief history, which I know, is when the Vice Chancellor, the previous Vice Chancellor, called me and was asking if I could be interested in coming and leading a cancer center or a program. She wasn't specific, but it's been my passion. So then, well, it was quick, and then she was leaving and had told me that he's talked with the incoming Vice Chancellor, so they decided together that I come and join the university. And so when I joined, it was early 2019, immediately after the Vice Chancellor who joined in January. And so after that, I was busy writing the proposal, which had to go from committee to committee until Senate, and then it was approved towards the end of 2019. So this institute is just over 2 years. PACRI name was coined by collaborators. I think we were sitting at the Balaika Marriott in Johannesburg Sentin. So we were brainstorming what is supposed to be called. That was before I joined the university. Of course, I had the appointment letter. I knew I was coming, so I needed just to come with the name. So it was Pan-African Cancer Research Institute, PACRI. So all the people now who work there and associate are Pacrinians. It was challenging time for me, new beginnings in a new university, and I had to sell this vision. But it was easier for me because I did my PhD with the clinicians. I'm a basic scientist by background. molecular biologists or molecular oncologists. So I've worked with clinicians, so for me to maneuver and talk to them is not a problem. So I spend more time, because clinicians are always busy, you can't find them in one place at the same time, so I visited each and every department. Well, I couldn't do all because COVID then came, and I'm very scared of being next to clinicians because they see many people every day, so the probability is about 90% that they'll get this. Yeah, but now we have an institute that has really close collaboration with basic scientists and clinicians, because you got to know, you got to listen to the clinician, what are the problems, what are they faced with, and then how can you assist in solving in the laboratory. It's actually a bench to bedside and that kind of research, which is what is required in South Africa. So with this institute, I think it's the first in South Africa where you find really not just saying that they're working together, we're really working together and trying to solve this scourge. So we have a very powerful PACRI management committee, which is composed of basic scientists, is composed of clinicians, is composed of representatives. At the moment, we have one representative from vets, we have one representative from SMU, and we're gonna put one from University of Limpopo, because we want to create that platform where we're working together, not competing, because we're fighting this scourge. So there's no use of competing. So we are working together and we are creating a platform where funders can come and fund us, because they can't find funders in different corners. This PACRI management committee, nothing happens without them at PACRI. They're all PACRInians, and some they're doing PhDs, some heads of clinical departments, very experienced specialists in their own right. So they are at the core of driving PACRI's vision. And I would like to ask you to really open your bags when you get home. Look at the strategy of PACRI. Look at everything, all those pamphlets, the chair, which is DSI, NRF, such a chair in precision oncology and cancer prevention, the MRC. These are very prestigious. The MRC unit in precision oncology, those are all under my belt, very prestigious. And look at them, because maybe you might feel that you need really to contribute to this good cause. And I write the strategy I wrote personally, because you can't move ahead without a strategy. But with the help of the international collaboration, which is the next committee that I'm going to describe, and the PACRI management committee, they were giving input, but I had to put a draft somewhere so they can then be able to consult with. We have also a very strong international scientific advisory committee. Is really international experts in the cutting edge area of cancer research. There are also PACRInians, they are extraordinary professors under PACRI. They also co-supervise our students, because in South Africa and the region, we lack skills, cutting edge skills in cancer research. So they there to really transfer those skills. They open their laboratories also for us to visit and the students to visit. It's just that it's been slowed down by COVID. Now, we also have, this committee has made it happen. We now have the PACRI HPV vaccination and screening promotion steering committee, which is really responsible for the cancer prevention and control So we have already approved as the management committee the terms of reference, and we're gonna start to implement it. We have 3 macro areas at PACRI or PACRI focus: the clinical cancer research, which is pushing the envelope of early detection and treatment and personalized care. We have the translational cancer research, which is facilitating the movement of new ideas and treatments from the laboratory to the clinic, as well as the movement of the clinic observation from the clinic to the laboratory. We have the population and we have the prevention and population cancer sciences, which is a wing that is geared to improving survival outcomes with activities in cancer epidemiology, prevention, and control. I'm gonna go within these 2.5 years or so, or less than that, when we count from when the Senate approved and without taking in COVID impact, PACRI has done really well. We have a strategic plan as guiding document to implement vision, and it's based on the 6 UN SDG goals. These are goal 3, goal 4, goal 5, 9, 10, and 17. So also we enjoy the support from the university. The executive management has really come and invested a substantial amount to build those laboratories that you've seen, so that we can have translational oncology laboratories, which should be, like the VC said, be completed by October end of, I just give enough time, end of 2022. And also with the acquisition of the new Saterre in precision oncology, the DSI NRF Saterre, we have been able to advertise the research laboratory manager, and he should be starting in April. We have actually over 40 articles published internationally, although I still work mostly at home, because also my office also is a storeroom now, it's full of equipment, so I have to try and find, I think the MRC is promising me an office. I'm saying in front of people so that they don't backtrack. We have over 10 PhD postgraduates, mostly from clinical departments, and we are about staff development. That is very important, because it's not like training a person and he's going somewhere you don't know. He's going to sit here and train other people. It's about building a critical mass of future cutting-edge cancer researchers. We are also already involved in 2 clinical trials. Well, the other one is on the pipeline, but we have another one with India. It's mostly the collaboration with PACRI and the Department of Medical Oncology. The funding mainly comes from the University of Pretoria. I don't forget that they pay me. I think money is never enough, but they pay me well. The Department of Health, through the South African Medical Research Council, I just want to tell you that PACRI wouldn't be here without the South African Medical Research Council. I came with the SHIP Newton Strategic Health Initiative a couple of millions. So I said, can I use this? I know they were not meant for this, but it's still cancer, please help me. So they said, yes, it's a good initiative, go ahead. The same year I got the prestigious unit, the Precision Oncology Research Unit from the MRC also. We were 6 women who were awarded out of about 70-something who applied. So it was steep, but I managed to just pull through. The Department of Science and Innovation and through the National Research Council, so now I have its prestigious chair, and the university also is putting some money in the chair. This is the DST NRF Sachi Chair in Precision Oncology and Cancer Prevention. This is very recent. It started last month, yes, because it was starting at the beginning of the year. We have our funders of postgraduate fellowship or scholarship is the National Research Foundation, is the SAMRC and Discovery. Discovery mostly it funds our clinicians who are doing PhD. What is the future now? We looking at building a cancer center of excellence. So this is really this really means that funding is the main driver of success of PACRI. Although we are dreaming, but we need the funding to make this happen. And I know we can make it happen. I normally when I set my sight onto something and I say I want to do this, I do this and it happens. We plan to have PACRI as a center of excellence in South Africa and the region. We have already a pool of experts, both from national and international. We work closely with the universities, University of Witwatersrand, Sefako Mahato University of Health Sciences. Now we're adding University of Limpopo. We have UKZN, and also I have to look at home as well, and University of Free State. I can't just, give the benefit. I have to think about home as well. We actually have created a fertile ground where investors can come, because it's easier for investors, if you're working together, to come and say, this is a really good initiative, rather than competing, having competition that never take you forward. So we're hoping to build an African Cancer Genome Atlas, which is ACGA, to investigate risk and susceptibility databases for African cancers and advancing precision or personalized oncology or targeted oncology. This is really very costly. I think that sequencing platform which needs, because a human being is very complex, is about 25 to 30 million, which if we can just have that, it will really help. We request funders to invest to this good cause so that we can defeat cancer together. I really would like to acknowledge the major funders of PACRI, because you have those who can come even if there is nothing, so that there is something, so that more funders can come. University of Pretoria, South African Medical Research Council, the National Research Foundation. I would like to also thank the collaborators locally, nationally, and worldwide for the skills they bring in to make PACRI a reality. They've built a family, they've built the PACRInians. Thank you very much.
Can we please give a round of applause, Jen? Prof, we'd just like to thank you again, for bringing us together as oncology scientists and clinicians under one roof, that is PACRI, an Institute of Research Excellence and Innovation. And we'd really like to thank you for that. And we'll make sure that we grow to reach your hometown of Matlabatini so people are not left behind. Next up, I'd like to call Prof. Sunil Maharaj to the stage. He's the Vice Principal of Research, Innovation, and Postgraduate Education at the University of Pretoria, and he'll be telling us about PACRI's alignment to the university's research vision.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Of course, the Program Director, our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Coupe, our Deputy Minister, honored guests. Wonderful having you here. As Professor Dlamini mentioned, we're fighting cancer together, but we're celebrating this evening together as well. It's an evening of success and an evening of planting a seed that will germinate to become a powerhouse for Africa and for global competitiveness. So my aim is to highlight basically something about PACRI and its strategic plan and activities in line with the university's strategy, and to highlight that it is one of the implementing tools of the UP Strategic Plan 2026. We have a new plan which we launched through Council's approval last year, 2022 to 2026 plan, and this forms part of that plan. It also shows that the visions are aligned and that PACRI's strategic plan is aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals, as Professor Dlamini alluded to. As many of you may know, UP's strategic plan is to be a leading research-intensive university in Africa, recognized internationally for its quality, relevance, and impact, and also for developing people, creating knowledge, and making a difference locally and globally. And of course, PACRI strategic plan and vision is aligned to this as well. So the University of Pretoria, in its plan, has 4 key pillars, and the 4 pillars are basically quality in what we do in teaching, learning, and research, relevance, sustainability, and very important, diversity. And these are encaptured and enshrined in the PACRI vision as well. So the 5 key pillars, as Professor Dlamini mentioned in PACRI, which fits into our plan, of course, the first one is improving, as she mentioned, improving tools and new opportunities for early detection, treatment, prevention of cancer, and advancing precision oncology in the African region. And of course, the second pillar of developing a critical mass of cancer researchers in South Africa and the African region, and developing internationally competitive cancer research capabilities in Africa, with an emphasis on Afrocentric solutions, enhancing the probability of finding homegrown solutions of cancer challenges faced by the continent. Of course, pillar 3, collaboratively promote in-house innovation, new business models, spin-out companies, and partnerships to ignite change and deliver value to society. And pillar 4, building a strong drive in collaborative transdisciplinary research that addresses cancer, health disparities, and its impact on underserved and socially economical disadvantaged populations. And as the Vice Chancellor mentioned, this is Future Africa, a platform to help grow and develop collaboratively the challenges of Africa. And pillar 5, improving PACRI's local and international partners to connect and cooperate in the field of cancer research and becoming a privileged scientific forum for cutting-edge cancer research and Cancer Center of Excellence. And these are, of course, aligned to the national strategies of the DSI Grand Challenges in Bioeconomy, from which we address the heavy burden of disease in South Africa, and gives us a special impetus for biotechnology and pharmaceutical solutions, particularly in the fight against cancer. And of course, as Prof. Dlamini mentioned, how it aligns to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, particularly with emphasis on 6 that she outlined. So the alignment of PACRI with national priorities is supported by government's main funding instruments, namely the Department of Health, the South African Medical Research Council Precision Oncology Unit, and of course DSI, Department of Science Innovation, the SACHI chair, we have the joint SACHI chair, the NRF, DSI, and of course UP SACHI chair, which is co-funded by UP as well, and of course held by Professor Dlamini. Furthermore, as you've seen the video and alluded to, UP has put in substantial funding in developing this infrastructure in the Faculty of Health Sciences. So as one can see, university has not only spoke about supporting, but he's put his money where the mouth is, basically. So I would like to thank, in my conclusion, all our collaborators and support we have received thus far and continue to receive for this initiative. And of course, I'd like to congratulate, like others, Prof. Dlamini on her efforts and her passion and her drive in taking this UP vision to realization and onto the international platform. Your funding, support, and involvement is invaluable to University of Pretoria in building it into a research-intensive and globally competitive university. And collectively, through this initiative, we can make a greater and sustainable impact in moving the frontiers of science and serving our broader society better. Thank you very much. Enjoy the evening, and we hope to see you again at PACRI. Thank you.
Prof. Maharaj, thank you again. You, together with the rest of the varsity's executive, are always helping us when we reach stumbling blocks at PACRI. Next up, I'd like to welcome to the stage Elise Dubert from the Cancer Association of South Africa to give her a message of support.
Thank you, Program Director, our Honourable Deputy Minister, Professor Kube, Professor De Jager, Professor Dlamini, and all other distinguished guests. Good evening. I am delighted to share this message of support from the Cancer Association of South Africa. You know, last year, we celebrated our 90th anniversary. And from small beginnings in the 1931, cancer grew and evolved throughout the years to what it is today. And it's thanks to numerous partnerships, many donations, and the utmost dedication of our employees and volunteers throughout the 90 years that cancer is the leader that it is today. And we always had a heart for supporting cancer research. Cancer is one of the only non-profit organizations conducting research in cancer research in South Africa to date. And we have a proud portfolio of research over the last 30 years. And during that time, cancer was one of the largest local funders of cancer research in South Africa. Since 1994, 255 researchers from 12 educational institutions were funded by cancer. We've managed over 110 projects that resulted in 302 publications. Now, like you, PACRI, we are also very concerned about the lack of cancer awareness and education that can result in many cancers being presented at very late stages. And we all know that an early diagnosis means a better and successful treatment outcome and improved survival rates. We are also, like you, want to address the inequalities in the health system in underserved and socio-economic disadvantaged communities. Cancer revised its research strategy in 2020 to play a better role, strategic role, in funding research in South Africa on priority cancers. And we align with the Department of Health strategy with cancer prevention and control, including formulating health policy. We focus on epidemiology, on the determinants of the burden of cancer, on health-seeking behaviors to improve early detection to health and to relieve the economic burden of cancer, as well as research relating to cancer biology. Our organization also acknowledged the importance of building the capacity of a new generation of cancer researchers to further develop much needed advances in cancer research countrywide. And our funded research has yielded significant findings, such as the identification of hepatitis B infection as a major risk factor for liver cancer. And in 2015, we honored Professor Michael Q with a Lifetime Achievement Award to recognize his contribution to the knowledge and understanding of primary liver cancer. And thanks to his work, the link between hepatitis B and liver cancer was discovered and followed by a development of a vaccine that was incorporated into the South African government's infant immunization program. And Cancer is proud to have been a funder of Professor Q's research over 30 years. We also play a large role in educating the consumer about leading a smart and balanced lifestyle and reducing their cancer risk. And since 2010, we have our Cancer Seal of Recognition program with smart choice labels that are awarded to products that qualify in 5 categories. Now, these products have been assessed to contain no known carcinogens and help to lower the cancer risk. Now, this program would not have been possible without the evidence-based research. Our track record further includes supporting the correct food labeling on products, especially on trans fatty acids, also based on scientific findings. But we recognize to survive in the current challenging climate, we need strong partnerships that will help us to reach our mission and objectives. So PACRI, you have our full support. Our support, which represent the civil society and thousands of people affected by cancer. Together, we can contribute significantly to the research required to provide the latest evidence on cancer surveillance, prevention, screening, diagnosis and treatment to inform our policies and our cancer prevention and control programs and resource allocation to tackle this disease. Long-term collaborative research efforts are needed to eliminate duplication and to coordinate optimum investment of resources. And cancer research requires a national strategy for integrated and multidisciplinary and focused approach to combat this disease. And I believe this is the role that PACRI can also play. Now together, I believe, Prof. Zodwa, that the biggest breakthroughs and world-class projects can happen through our shared values and our partnership, and especially for us in the field of oncology and service to patients. We look forward to work together to defeat cancer together. I thank you.
Elise, we at PACRI are thankful to have an ally such as yourself in this battle against cancer, and we look forward to being in the trenches with you. Next up, we have Dr. Elizabeth Weiderpas, who is the director of the International Agency for Research on Cancer, and she'll be joining us online virtually from France.
Thank you very much. Dear participants, colleagues and friends, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Weiderpas, the director of the International Agency for Research on Cancer. And it is my great pleasure today to participate in the launch of the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute, or PACRI. Thank you so much, Professor Zodwa Dlamini, for inviting me for this gala dinner and for giving me the opportunity to address you all today. PACRI has a very important and exciting mission, and the International Agency of Research on Cancer fully supports this initiative. Professor Dlamini, congratulations on making this new Cancer Research Center a reality. This new Cancer Research Center is of utmost importance for the prevention, early detection, and treatment of cancer in Africa. Cancer has not disappeared under the COVID-19 pandemic. The fight against cancer is as important and urgent as ever before. In 2020, more than 19 million people in the world were diagnosed with cancer, and 10 million people died of the diseases. In many countries, cancer will affect every other man and 1 in every 3rd woman during their lifetime. Over the next 20 years, the number of cancer cases is estimated to rise globally by at least 60%. And this rise will affect mainly low and middle income countries, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. But sadly, this is not all. A recent study that we did at the International Agency for Research on Cancer in sub-Saharan Africa showed that there is a tragic and overlooked consequence of the large burden of adult deaths from cancer, especially among younger adults, the consequence being children that are left behind as orphans. The loss of a parent can have a long-term impact on a child's life, on a child's mental and physical health, as well as on a child levels of education and socioeconomic status. This study that we did at IARC provides the first global estimate for the number of cancer orphans in year 2020 and underlines the urgency of cancer control plans in Africa so that cancer incidence and mortality can be prevented in the first place. The International Agency for Research on Cancer is supportive of PACRI's mission, which spans all aspects of cancer research, from cancer etiology, genetics, and research on disparities to personalized medicine and cancer treatment. With the rapidly increasing cancer burden in Africa, PACRI's research work, strategic plans, and vision are greatly warranted and timely. PACRI's mission will contribute to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Its strategy is perfectly in line with the International Agency for Research on Cancer new medium-term strategy for years 21 to 25, and with my own vision of a world where fewer people develop cancer. PACRI also provides us with a fantastic opportunity to jointly develop common research programs, share expertise more effectively, increase capacity building, and strengthen our strategic partnerships. My wish is for South Africa to join us at IARC, at the International Agency for Research on Cancer, as a new participating state, and to becoming the voice of sub-Saharan Africa at our governing bodies, shaping the world's cancer research agenda and ensuring that cancer research questions affecting low and middle income countries, in particular in sub-Saharan Africa, are taken into consideration. In conclusion, I would like to congratulate again Professor Zodwa Dlamini, the founding director and executive head of PACRI, for her tremendous work. I'm very confident that the next years we'll see major advances and achievements in cancer prevention, early diagnosis and treatment in Africa, and that these advances and achievements will directly benefit people in Africa. Thank you very much for your attention. Enjoy your festive dinner and take care of yourselves. Bye.
Next up, we have one of our big funders, and we should be very nice to her to continue funding our work. Professor Glenda Gray, the President and CEO of the South African Medical Research Council.
Thank you, MC. First of all, I want to acknowledge my boss, Deputy Minister, my boss. I have lots of bosses, but he's my big boss. So we have to thank him. Vice Chancellor and Principal. I didn't see Phil. Is Phil here? The DG. He's not here. The DVC, the Dean, my fellow CEOs, past board members, esteemed colleagues, all protocol observed. I could go through the list if you want me to, but I think we know everybody here is very important, and it's just very wonderful to be here. So the South African Medical Research Council's vision is to fund and conduct research that changes the lives of South Africans. Okay, and that is our modus operandi. Whatever we do has to change the lives of South Africans, and we're committed to doing this, into funding stuff that'll change the lives of South Africans. We have 4 colliding epidemics in South Africa: an epidemic of communicable diseases, an epidemic of maternal and child health problems, an epidemic of violence and injury, and the 4th epidemic of non-communicable diseases, of which cancer plays a very important role. We know that 60% of all new cancers that emerge will come from low and middle income countries. And we know that South Africa, as we have longevity, as life expectancy increases, that we will see more and more cancer. And so what we have to pay attention to is prevention, treatment, and understanding the metabolic and molecular pathways of cancer. We know up until now that discoveries and the genetic understanding of cancer has mostly been from European origins, and that we know little about the molecular and genetic pathways of people from African descent. And so what Zodwa is doing here is truly decolonizing science. And I'm going to say it again. Zodwa is decolonizing science. She has decided that cancer is a problem of African people, and that understanding the molecular pathways and the genetics of cancer in African people will make sure we have the right medicine to treat people of African descent. And that is critical. And so we talk about future Africa and what's happening. In fact, at the University of Pretoria, what is happening is truly revolutionary. It's our first step to decolonize cancer research in Africa. And so I want to applaud the university and Zodwa for that. What I haven't told you was Zodwa, Professor Dlamini, was my boss in the board at the MRC. And I'm a pediatrician. I know about communicable diseases, HIV and TB, and I'm a pediatrician, so I know about child health. And Zodwa, when she was on the board, she took me through a process of understanding the importance of non-communicable diseases and cancer. And if it wasn't for her instruction, the MRC would not have developed its cancer centers, would not have developed precision medicine calls to look at precision oncology, and would not have set up such ambitious programs. So I want to acknowledge Zodwa for being catalytic in identifying the non-communicable diseases as a need to fund, and for also making sure that we spearhead cancer research in South Africa. Zodwa has, as I mentioned yesterday, she has tenacity, she has passion, she has brilliance, and she's driven. She is like a dog with a bone. Zodwa is a dog with a bone. And when she decides something is going to happen, something is going to happen. And so mark my words, PACRI is going to be an important and fundamental program that helps us catalyze cancer research into the 21st century, understanding the need for fourth industrial revolution interface with things like cancer. So thank you, Zodwa, and I look forward to being a PACRInian as well. Thank you.
To our honorary PACRInian, we thank you for your support. Next up will be Prof. Fulufelo Nelamondo, who is the CEO of the National Research Foundation. Please join us on stage.
Thank you, Mr. Program Director. Honorable Deputy Minister, Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, the Director General of the Department of Science and Innovation, in his absence. I have to acknowledge him, otherwise I might have consequences. Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Pretoria, Professor Kupe, CEOs and Presidents of entities represented here, and a very, very important person, the Founding Director and Executive Head of the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute, Professor Zodwa Dlamini, distinguished guests, and that includes every one of you. Good evening. I think we're still used to the Zoom moment where when you say good evening, you don't expect people to respond, right? Good evening, colleagues. The National Research Foundation is really pleased and honored to be part of this auspicious occasion and lends its support to the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute, hosted here at the University of Pretoria. Justifiably so, I must hasten to say that before PACRI was even launched, the NRF partnered with UP and invested resources from the public purse to establish the DSI NRF SACHI chair in precision oncology and cancer prevention, which we have heard about. But what I just want to emphasize here is this. After a very rigorous peer review process that invariably upholds the prestige of the SACHI and research excellence in general, Prof. Dlamini was duly recommended by an independent review panel and subsequently approved by the NRF to be the chairholder. It is fitting, therefore, that the founding director and the inaugural executive head of PACRI is concurrently a DSI NRF SACHI chair in one of the most important and relevant research fields globally and Africa in particular, as we have heard. So congratulations, Prof. The importance of cancer research cannot be overemphasized. I think we've heard quite a lot about the importance of this. And I'm sure all of us here will know probably somebody who lost their lives within our families, within our colleagues to cancer, or some of us probably even going through treatment for the same disease. So clearly, this is something that is very, very important for us to look into. We know that cancer is the leading cause, second leading cause of mortality globally, accounting to about 10 million deaths every year, which basically means 1 in every 6 deaths is due to cancer. That's quite shocking, isn't it? Approximately 70% of cancer occur in low to middle income countries, which includes many of the African countries. The cost for treating or managing cancer patients for most Africans is prohibitively high, let alone accessibility to the aforementioned interventions. That is, for most Africans, they suffer the triple whammy of bearing the excruciating pain that comes with the disease, while concurrently facing the inability to access and the inability to afford the health care, especially at that very point where you need the care the most. The NRF hopes and believes that research conducted at PACRI will make palpable societal impact, and I have to emphasize impact, Vice Chancellor, because our research has to make impact. And in this case, it will do so by helping to ease the suffering in most Africans in particular, and humanity in general. And this has to be done in the true spirit of Ubuntu or Ubuntu, and consistent with the accessible healthcare for all. After all, As eloquently posited by Ralph Waldo Emerson, the first wealth is health. Accordingly, the NRF also believes in and unequivocally supports the vision of PACRI to be a world-class Pan-African Cancer Research Institute dedicated to cancer prevention, innovative translational research, precision convergence approaches, and developing optimal therapeutic strategies. I have to also emphasize the word innovation, being innovative, because I think the world that we are finding ourselves in is calling for us to actually look at things differently. We need to be very innovative. Otherwise, we might as well just fold. It is indeed encouraging that the vision of PACRI speaks to global, continental, and national priorities encapsulated in the UN Strategic Development Goals, as well as in the AU Agenda 2063 and the NDP here locally. The vision of PACRI is also in consonance with the 2019 White Paper on Science, Technology, and Innovation, and the object of the NRF mandate. Needless to say, the such institutional grant committed by the NRF to the Precision Oncology and Cancer Prevention Chair for at least 5 years in the first instance, and with the possibility of renewal up to 15 years, will surely go a long way in helping PACRI to realize its objectives. The NRF is very optimistic that in addition to advancing the understanding of cancer biology, discovering and designing cancer therapies and prevention strategies that are relevant and beneficial to diverse populations, especially accessible and affordable to the indigent Africans, PACRI will indeed also push the frontiers of cutting-edge science and innovation, and foster multi-institutional and transdisciplinary international collaboration that also will include other South African and African institutions. To re-emphasize and reiterate for emphasis, Professor Dlamini, I would like to challenge you to live up to the expectations that Africa has on you in solving or assisting in this cancer work that lies ahead. I do believe that the facility that we saw on the screen here will assist in training and producing a preponderance of high-quality postgraduate students who themselves should produce research and innovation outputs. I'm emphasizing research and innovation outputs, not just research. We need to think of how do we translate this research to innovation, to products that are going to make changes. We need to be deliberate in creating research career pathways for highly skilled, high-quality young and mid-career researchers at postdoctoral and register level in this area of science. Again, I'm emphasizing high-quality young and mid-career, because I think that's a gap that we have in the society. So we need to actually bring the young up. So you have a duty as well, and I'm challenging you to help us in actually creating these cohorts of young researchers that can solve issues in this area. Distinguished guests, let me, on behalf of the NRF, conclude by what I should have started with. We express our heartfelt felicitations and well wishes to UP, to PACRI, and its founding director, Professor Zodwa Dlamini, for this milestone towards hopefully a better, affordable, and accessible prevention, care, and treatment of cancer for all. The NRF commits to continue to support this noble initiative for many years to come. I thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for those words. And I'm not sure if Prof Zodwa should be speaking on your behalf, but I know that developing young scientists is at the heart of everything that you do. Hence, you're making me run up and down these stairs, but it's okay. And Prof, we do promise to provide innovative research, and not just for the sake of doing research, but to, in fact, change in the lives of our people with cancer. Next up, then, we'll have Prof Marco Fionni, the Scientific Director for the Institute of Molecular Oncology Foundation in Milan, Italy, and he will be joining us on the virtual platform.
As you know, cancer is a global disease. According to the WHO, there are approximately 14 million new cases every year. And the number is expected to rise about 70% in 20 years. In terms of deaths, cancer is the second leading cause, with 8.8 million deaths globally in 2015. These are statistics, but if we speak about cancer, the word cancer resonates differently among people. So we say cancer to scientists, and we immediately think about molecular pathways, genetic alterations, genome instability. But if we say cancer to patients, that generates fears, as we know. Still, it's a huge fear, and the patient asks himself, am I going to be treated? Will I survive? What about my family? So these are still big problems. And the fear is that cancer still is a death sentence. Well, this is not the case in many Western countries, which have invested billions into cancer research since 1971 with the Cancer Act. And since then, tremendous progress has been made. Researchers from all around the world gathered together to understand the disease better and to find a cure. Today, we know a lot more. It's 50 years we work with cancer. But first, cancer is not one disease, and we learned that. Cancer is represented by different diseases, and that implies that it's unlikely that we will find a single cure for all the cancers, okay? And this is becoming clear and clear. Second, the good news that perhaps we have some weapons that we can use against cancer, and thanks to them, at least in Western countries, that cancer is no longer considered a death sentence. But then we need to consider that addressing cancer goes hand in hand with personalized medicine. Effective treatments combine drugs with genetic mutations. Let's think about olaparib and PARP inhibitors and BRCA mutations, so the synthetic lethal approach, which had changed the treatment for cancer. Western countries have invested a lot to generate knowledge, to develop drugs, to build healthcare infrastructures required to deal with cancer. We have advanced therapies, sophisticated machineries, molecular diagnostic tests, and hospitals readily accessible to patients. We have routine screening programs for men and women to detect cancer early. Our doctors are trained to recognize symptoms as soon as possible. But all of this is unevenly distributed across the world. People living in Africa, particularly in certain African countries, do not have access to technologies, drugs, or even hospitals, with a level of care comparable to those in Western countries. This is critical when we think that approximately 70% of cancer deaths occur in low and middle-income countries. Late-stage presentation and inaccessible diagnosis and treatment are still widespread. According to the WHO, 35% of low-income countries reported having pathology services generally available in the public sector. More than 90% in high-income countries said treatment services are viable, compared to less than 30% of low-income countries. Moreover, it's clear that cancer is an aging disease, and we do believe that if we understand aging, perhaps we'll find a cure for cancer more easily. And this is important also for our African population, because the African population is becoming increasingly older, and therefore the cancer incidence will inevitably increase. Just to give an example, in the sub-Saharan countries, cancer deaths have already risen 45% since 2000, killing more than 500,000 people each year. Breast cancer deaths have increased 70% in that area, and it combined with cervical cancer caused 20%, 1 out of 5 cancer deaths. We need to make an effort to share our knowledge about cancer with Africa. We need to include scientists from Africa in the world effort against cancer. It is a matter of inclusion, economies of scale, and equality. Initiatives such as the Pan-African Cancer Research Institute are a step in the right direction. And we are proud to say that IFOM, our institution, the institute that I represent tonight, is eager to support this endeavor through a series of possible joint initiatives. First, IFOM has developed pioneer molecular diagnostic tests for genetic risk of breast, ovarian, and colorectal cancer. We have developed a low-cost kit that could be further adopted to suit its use in Africa. Moreover, we are developing gene panels to determine the appropriateness of given drugs for a given patient. The panels are enriched with genes initially characterized by IFOM researchers in both cases. However, we have to keep in mind that it's becoming clear that certain mutations that cause cancer predisposition in the Western countries are not represented in the African countries. And rather, in the African population, there are other types of mutations that have to be screened. Okay, and this is rather obvious now. So the technology is viable, but there's a lot of knowledge that we need to provide. So we're open to join forces in training medical staff and researchers to increase cancer awareness in the African scientific and medical community. And we're open to discussion to make this happen. Thank you for the opportunity you gave us tonight to affirm our support to PACRI. Thank you very much.
And I'd like just to agree with Prof. Fionni. African cancers seem to be very ill-mannered and angry, and we need PACRI to figure out why. Follow on, it seems that Dr. Matabo Matebula will be joining us virtually. She's the CEO of Steve Biko Academic, a woman that in our department at Medical Oncology, we bother her quite a lot trying to get drugs that are not on the EML approved. So, Dr. Matebula.
All right. To the Deputy Minister, Dr. Sbungsen Lomo, the Principal and the Vice Chancellor of the University of Pretoria, Professor Kupe, the Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences, Professor Diacher, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a privilege and an honor to be part of this exciting launch of the PACRI. Professor Dlamini, again, I would like to congratulate you for the step forward that you have taken. As has been said, I'm Dr. Matabo Matebula, the CEO of the Steve Biko Academic Hospital, one of the 10 in the country that are mandated to provide the highly specialized clinical services, to provide an environment for innovation and for research. And they being one of those 2 centers in Gauteng that is providing the comprehensive oncology services. Indeed, I am excited of what I've heard. I've been listening throughout the day, what the scientists and the medical people have been presenting. And immediately, I could see, Deputy Minister, that with PACRI, my mandate is going to be very easy because the clinical services are going to be covered as a beneficiary indirectly through the PACRI. And then the innovation is and the research are all that the PACRI is about. It seems to me all I have to do is to fold my arms and just see the success of PACRI, and everything will be done. Amongst the things that are listed throughout the day, I heard it's about the preventative part of cancers. Indeed, it has been like a pandemic parallel to another pandemic, such that even with our decision that during the peaks of COVID-19, we would expect all clinicians to pack the elective services and join the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. But when coming to oncology services, the colleagues, the radiation oncology and the medical oncology were the only clinical departments that were allowed to be saved from being active in fighting the COVID-19, because we understood that we are running parallel pandemics and we don't have any space to postpone provisioning of oncology services. Indeed, being the key partner to the University of Pretoria, it talks to me benefiting directly, and I would assume that I'm a shareholder now to the PACRI, Professor Dlamini. Yes, the oncology services is one of the presidential priorities, and therefore we try by all means to provide the resources. Earlier on, one of the clinicians from Steve Biko Academic University of Pretoria did highlight the issue of shortage of the main resource in health, which is the post for health professionals, for clinicians. And I hope, Professor Diacher, you're listening as well. And the Deputy Minister and the VC, you are directly implicated by that one. Yes, it was mentioned that it is my responsibility, but I think I can pass the responsibility to other offices that are higher than me. As long as the resources are available, I'm really promising that I will make that environment conducive for innovation and research, and the resources will be channeled accordingly. I believe the clinician, being the youngest amongst the group, was representing the rest of the clinicians in the Steve Biko Academic Hospital, is in the household where they know the youngest child, whenever they need things from the parents, they'll just send the youngest, they know that things will happen. Indeed, it comes at the right time when we have finally, after many years, since 2018, we have been trying to fulfill the building of the Numerai, which is a nuclear medicine research institute in Steve Biko Academic Hospital. The project finally, after having passed lots of red tapes, of which I think Deputy Minister is something that we need to look at, especially coming from the various spheres of government, especially in particular the local government. The project couldn't kick. And then even after it has started, there were glitches also related to the local government. I think it's something to be considered if we want to see to the success of research and the improvement of the African people. I'm very encouraged that the speakers throughout the day were talking about having African-specific solutions, and to the extent of the genome, because I have been asking myself, why do we have so many young people that are succumbing to cancers nowadays, and despite the evolution in treatment? I was answered to say it may be the treatment that we are giving because the clinical trials are not conducted in the main amongst the African population. Maybe the medicine is not appropriate, and this PACRI seems to be the solution that we have been waiting for. Yes, at my level of care, it's already at the end, and I was encouraged to hear that the emphasis is on prevention, 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 meaning we need to involve other sister departments in ensuring that the preventative and prevention of cancer is the key. That's where we emphasize. And also, if we know the genome, the exposure that is genetical to cancer, it can afford the opportunity for screening so that the cancer get detected earlier. The problem with our country type is that patients present very late, because it's not only the patient presenting to our health facilities late, but there's an issue of lacking the high suspicion of index of suspicion, that the cancer get missed and only get realized at the end. In those few words, I again would like to congratulate Professor Kupe, Professor Diache, Professor Dlamini, and I certainly, I can say even on behalf of my colleagues at other central hospitals that are also expected to provide a conducive site for research and innovation, I pledge my support, and also promising that I'm committed to enabling access, and of course we'll have to work around the red tape. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Next up on the podium will be Professor David Bates, the Director of the University of Nottingham Cancer Centre, which is situated at the largest medical school in the UK, isn't it?
Thank you very much. I'm very aware I'm standing between people and their dinner. So I'm going to make this very quick. The University of Nottingham Centre for Cancer Sciences has always been and will continue to be a very strong supporter of international cancer research, and particular international cancer research at PACRI. We've hosted Zodwa many times over the last few years to try and help what we can do, and we'll continue to do that with joint supervision of students and to support everybody else. I'm aware I'm not following protocol, but I'd just like to welcome the most important people in the room, the PhD students and early career researchers who are going to be our next generation of cancer leaders. And with that, thank you very much.
Just as I thought I'd rest my legs, Prof, you got me up again. Next up is Dr. Phil Mjwara, the Director General of the Department of Science and Technology.
Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge a couple of dignitaries. The Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Lomo, is representing Dr. Pasla. The Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Pretoria. He is leading a group of dignitaries, Professor Sunil Maharaj. I'm told he's part of this, he spoke earlier. Also, Dr. Professor Tian Diacha, the Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences, and the rest of the university community. I'd also like to acknowledge Professor Glenda Gray. Earlier on, I saw her trying to see if on the audience. I apologize, Glenda, I couldn't join you physically. Professor Fulufelo Nelomondo, the CEO of the National Research Foundation. Professor Zodwa Dlamini, the founding director of PACRI, which we are all acknowledging and wishing congratulatory success. And then our international partners, Marco, Fionni, David Bates, who was just spoken. And then earlier on, we had Elizabeth Vedepas, the director of the International Agency for Research on Cancer. And then also the Steve Biko Hospital contingency led by Dr. Matabo Matebula. Later on, I think will be addressed by Professor Saterre, the head of nuclear medicine, Dr. Richard Kanyile. So I first like to start with an apology that, one, I couldn't join you this evening, and that our minister could not join the meeting. So he sends his support, but his apology that he couldn't be at this meeting. So it is my honor and privilege to be addressing you on this important occasion. We as a Department of Science and Innovation recognize that cancer is emerging as a public health problem in sub-Saharan Africa and the world. And in fact, cancer mortality rates continue to increase worldwide, and cancer is now the second leading cause of death globally. And people who have spoken before me have given you specific statistics around this. As part of the response to this global health threat, we believe it is crucial for countries to focus on enhancing their capacity for innovation, and more specifically, their capabilities in the area of bioinnovation. This policy focus is particularly urgent for countries in the developing world. Equally important, we have the view that bioinnovation has direct and strategic value for a number of key sectors that play an important role in enhancing innovation capacity of countries and help in addressing their socio-economic challenges. We know, for instance, that in the area of healthcare, bioinnovation can contribute to the development of new drugs, vaccines, diagnostics, and medical devices. In the area of manufacturing, bioinnovation can contribute to biorefining and enable us to harness the power of biomaterials such as enzymes and nanobiomolecules. In the area of health innovation, bioinnovation can significantly boost the health economy by providing locally developed and locally relevant diagnostics and medical devices, and by so doing, help in the improving the balance of payment, and also ensuring that you have locally developed pharmaceutical capabilities in the country, and thus reducing the country's reliance on importing drugs and vaccines for priority diseases. It was this understanding of the strategic value of bioinnovation that motivated us as a department to strengthen our country's health innovation capacity. As early as 2001, we developed and adopted the National Biotechnology Strategy, which over time morphed into the current Bioeconomy Strategy. As far as we know, South Africa is one of only 6 countries in the world and the only one in Africa to have a bioeconomy strategy. Our bioeconomy strategy is a product of the important lessons we have learned from the earlier biotechnology strategy that I mentioned earlier on. One of the cardinal lessons we learned was that if we are to respond effectively to our health challenges, we will have to create new and disruptive innovation products and new work. At the same time, we will have to deliberately use bioinnovation as an instrument for sustainable socio-economic development. Furthermore, we will have to harness significant investment in partnership with the private sector and the NGO. So we're very delighted to hear the work that Cancer South Africa is doing in this regard. With this broad strategic context in mind, we view the establishment of PACRI not only as a timely and creative response to the country's health and innovation challenges, but also as being aligned to some of our strategic health initiatives and key policy instruments. As I mentioned earlier, we as a Department of Science and Innovation acknowledge the emergence of cancer as a major public health challenge in South Africa, Africa and the world. It therefore pleases us to note that PACRI aims to be a world-class research institute, discovering new areas of cancer medicine, leading efforts in cancer prevention and cure, and contributing to reducing the cancer burden locally, regionally, and globally. The establishment of PACRI will also strengthen some of our existing health innovation initiatives. One such initiative is the Strategic Health Innovation Partnership Program, popularly known as SHIP. This program is informed by our economy strategy, and through it we fund and manage innovation projects that are focused on the development of new drugs, treatments, vaccines, medical devices, and other prevention diseases. And as you all know, you already know the investments that we have made in drugs and genomic surveillance as part of this program. SHIP brings together a range of partners, including government, academia, science councils, as well as industry, to tackle the disease burden of the country. It will also please you to know that the program conducts cancer research not only in South Africa, but also in sub-Saharan Africa. The creation of SHIP has led to the establishment of a number of related initiatives, including a drug discovery platform, which seeks to initiate a precision medicine program to address non-communicable diseases in South Africa, and a precision medicine think tank, which aims to develop a national strategy for precision medicine, as well as a portfolio of precision medicine projects. Through this portfolio of initiatives, we are able to secure technology transfer and manufacturing rights for the para-DNA technology for South Africa, and to facilitate the adoption of genetic testing for breast cancer in the private health sector. Clinical trials for new drugs and studies on new uses of monoclonal antibodies are also underway. Additionally, as a department, we support the nuclear medicine research infrastructure NUMERI facility that was mentioned earlier on by the CEO of the hospital. As some of you may be aware, this is a one-stop shop medical imaging facility dedicated to drug development and clinical research. The NUMERI hub will be equipped with the state-of-the-art good manufacturing practice radiopharmacy, which will provide high-quality radiopharmaceuticals, both for therapeutic diagnostic, for the treatment of cancer and other diseases pertinent to our African population. The research conducted at NUMERI will also contribute to the development of a range of therapies that address national priority diseases and will be accessible nationally and to some extent continentally. It is important to the government that NUMERI facilities will be strategically located at the designated local center or hospital with existing competence and sufficient concentration of relevant expertise. So we note some of the challenges that were mentioned by the CEO, and we'll be working with you to see as government if they can be addressed. As stated previously, the creation of PACRI also advances the core objectives of some of our key policy instruments as a department. And one such policy instrument is our country's new white paper on science, technology, and innovation, whose vision is to enable inclusive and sustainable South African development in a changing world. The white paper seeks to achieve this vision by placing new emphasis on inclusivity, transformation, linkages in the national system of innovation, enhancing the innovation culture in society, expanding research, developing human capabilities, and accelerating the implementation of the Pan-African Science, Technology, and Innovation Agenda. The creation of PACRI, therefore, must be located within our decadal plan, which is an instrument with which we are implementing the vision of the white paper, and it emphasizing some of very important key societal grand challenges. To conclude, in addition to enhancing our country's and continent's capabilities to respond innovatively and effectively to the global challenge of cancer, the creation of PACRI serves as a potent reminder that for us in Africa and the developing world, science, technology, innovation must be pursued and applied with a strong commitment to social transformation and the building of a more equal and humane world. Finally, we wish to congratulate Professor Zodwa Dlamini, the University of Pretoria, and all the other partner institutions that made the establishment of the Institute possible. We have no doubt that the Institute, as we see it being aligned to our policy document, will be supported by the department and will produce world-class and life-changing work. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Our next speaker has the advantage of being both a politician and a doctor. So he's acutely aware of the frustrations of resource constraints in public hospitals. I'd like to welcome to the stage the Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Sibongiseni Dhlomo.
To the Program Director who really deserves a round of applause from us for having worked so hard up and down these stairs, I don't know how many times. He has done quite a bit of an exercise for the whole weekend. To our Vice Chancellor of the University of Pretoria, Professor Coupe, and all members of the University Council and Senate, but also to greet the Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences, Professor Diage. Another very important leader here who must go and tell the minister he really missed out, Professor Glenda Gray. I think we need to really meet the minister and say he missed out on this very noble innovation that we are witnessing here. To our visitor, Professor David Bates, who came in here and spoke for 1 minute and left, all the way from UK. We will send that information back to the university. You spoke for 1 minute, but maybe I missed your interaction during the day with all other delegates, all other CEOs, NRF leader that is here with us. My dear sister who leads in the Cancer Association of South Africa, who worries me all the time, and I worry her too. We are partners on a very important program. To all the esteemed leaders who are here, we are all assembled here because of Zodwa, who asked us to be here. And I told her, look, Zodwa, I will disappoint you. I won't speak for, I'm not a keynote speaker. I'm just coming here to congratulate you and maybe make a commitment, because the program director is actually asking me to say, yes, Dr. Matebula was also saying I must do actually up delegation. So now I must respond to some of those things. But I just want to say, Professor Glenda Gray was speaking here of a quadruple burden of disease. We're one of those few, maybe in the whole continent, that while we are almost so much engulfed by non-communicable diseases, hypertension, diabetes, and cancers, we are still struggling to really make sure we don't have typhoid. We are still struggling with TB. Now, that's a tall order we have in our country. The violence from people who drink and drive anyhow, and they actually take our beds in the ICUs because they are drunk, but they were on the road and they got accidents. We have no choice to provide. We also have an increasing violence in our country that also is engulfing. So this is all pressures that people like Dr. Matebula do have to plan. You can imagine if you don't give a drunkard a bed to sleep on in the ICU because you are prioritizing a patient who has just had a hip replacement and say, you, because you were drunk, will not get you a bed. So what? So we're struggling to juggle all that, and the CEOs are expected to just do, among other things, such processes. Now, I wanted to say, you are a very innovative team of researchers in this university, and this is our cradle for the whole country, for the whole continent. I'm sure the WHO is going to be very much interested to see our work in this regard. The work that we do in this country in the field of cancer is actually going to be enhanced by your research focus, because we're still struggling. In this country, you will find that the services that are largely supporting such patients, advanced malignancies, Western Cape, Gauteng, and KwaZulu-Natal, largely because those are the provinces that have got tertiary institutions and also have got academic centers there, and they are actually supporting. But you probably realize that we're also still struggling there. The understaffing program is not only just affecting pediatrics, and this is also affecting areas in cancer. I was once aware of just 5 oncologists in and around the KZN province, when we were struggling, and when we were taking statistics, there were 50 more of such oncologists that were just in Durban Center alone in the private sector. And Professor, you must actually advise us. I was thinking about, can we maybe go and knock at the door of Mediclinic, Netcare and Life and say, half of the specialists we train, they leave and come to you the next day, they've passed their exams. Why don't you contribute to the pool of actually training so that you can train more? Because I can tell you, they just walk across. And the issue, if we do introspection as government, yes, some of the conditions that we are exposing them to are not that optimal. And it really has to take a very dedicated specialist sometimes to be in the centers that we do have. We're trying our best. Steve Biko, right now I'm in another WhatsApp group with Professor Glenda, where specialists, doctors are complaining about our slow progress in really revamping Charlotte Maxeke Hospital, which is one of our key quaternary hospitals in the province. So those are things that some other people don't understand. Why will it take 6 months to have a hospital that was burnt down coming back to its full working process? Probably we might be happy to understand that we are trying our best. The provinces that were really at the backdrop, like Northwest, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Free State, have already been supported with oncology services. But again, we still depend, because buying and getting machine and equipment is not adequate. You need to actually have warm bodies. We want to actually make sure we focus more than the linear accelerators being there in these facilities where oncologists would like to be assisting us. We would like to also expand the pool of those medical oncologists, pediatric oncologists, radiation oncologists, and all those, because they are the key in terms of providing the service that we will also need. But again, some of us who are not these doctors who are eminent and professors can still play a role in going out there and mobilize people, society, towards preventative programs. And that is my passion about the prevention of this. Was probably Professor Bates was asking me there, what is my specialty? You see, when you come from UK, you always believe everybody is specialized. Now, I had to dig deep and say to him, of course, I've got a master's in public health. I don't know whether that satisfies him. But so my focus has been on public health, because it says to us, can you do so much to prevent that you don't get many of such cases coming into your doorstep the next day? What do you do? And I'm here with the professors. Please advise me if I have a very ambitious dream which has never been realized. When I was once an MEC for KwaZulu-Natal in health, I raised this with the former Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Mswaledi. Dr. Mswaledi, I have a dream of elimination of the cancer of the breast in 10 years. Is that a possible dream or is it a wild dream? So he dismissed me and said, no, this is a wild dream, it's unlikely. And my motivation was like this: of all the five cancers, I'm talking about adult cancers that you see, I'm not a pediatric, because I'm not like Professor Glenda, who knows more about pediatrics. Of all of the 5 main cancers that I'm always putting on the cancer of the lungs, cervical cancer, breast cancer, colorectal, and prostate. Of all the 5, the cancer that is looking at your face every day you wake up is the cancer of the breast. But now you still find patients coming in, you examine them, you ask, can you remove that cloth on the, trying to examine, and you see pus coming out of the breast. Now, that is not cancer of the breast that has been there for a day, for a month, or for a year. It's longer than that. And I was actually very ambitiously saying, let's mobilize everybody. And I know my dear sister there from the Cancer Association of South Africa will join me to say, let us mobilize all of our people to say, wake up every day and examine your breast. You just examine your breast. I mean, just when you finish brushing your teeth, examine your breasts. You pick up something that you find today that was not there yesterday. Then you start doing that process. And I used to say, when I mobilize people, I say, I go to the priest and I said, yeah, any woman in this church who has never examined her breast, please go to the vestry of the pastor, and the pastor is going to examine your breast. Trying to motivate to say it's so easy just to examine your breast, and we pick up lesions. I know of some of my friends, colleagues, who had just had a buttonhole size of a cancer of the breast that was removed and thrown away, and have lived 10 years or more. So we make it like all those ladies in our church who have not examined their breast, let's get their husbands to stand up in the church. And you ask them to say, next week, the situation is going to change. You will examine your wife's breast. If she's lazy to examine, you should do so. If you are also lazy, we'll tell the pastor, examine the breast. Now, trying to make it like fun, but just saying it doesn't take too much to examine your breast, but it can take so much of preventative. Because I know if you can have all those women taken in a bus, all of them have mammograms, those who had suspicious small lesions, all of those women would be saved, and they will not need to come to these big professors here to actually do this radiation, chemotherapy, and also surgical. So you will tell me if my dream is really a wild one, or there are certain partners here who can join me to say, it's possible, maybe not in 10 years, but let's start a process. I thank you and wish you all the best, and say, Professor Glenda, find time to go and tell the minister what we really saw here today. It's extremely innovative. If I was still a chairperson of the Portfolio Committee of Health, I was going to call you into Parliament and say, Professor Zodwa Dlamini must accompany you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister, for emphasizing prevention and the steps to that. Next up is my immediate line manager and boss. I just want to tell him that my voice is going to need some resting. So you might not see me in a week or two. Dr. Richard Katnile, the head of Department of Medical Oncology at Steve Biko and University of Pretoria.
Good evening, colleagues, and good evening to the Vice Chancellor as well. Professor Zodwa Dlamini, I don't know what to say. The tenacity that you have shown to us, and it comes as no surprise that I'm just going to say a few words. And I'm not going to comment about the dream of the Deputy Minister. I will leave that to Professor Zodwa to sort it out. But I'm going to say, Professor Zodwa, medical oncology as a department is going to be part, and it has been part of PACRI. We will assist in taking the solutions that are coming out of the lab to the clinic. And we will also take our problems in the clinic to the lab. I hope that communication that will happen between the two of us will assist PACRI, but most importantly, it will assist our patients. Because everything we do, we should never lose focus that we are not doing it for ourselves, we are not doing it for any glory of any kind, but we are doing it for the patient. Those are the people who are supposed to benefit. The biggest beneficiaries of PACRI should be our patients. And on that note as well, it comes as no surprise that of your 10 PhD students, 2 of them comes from medical oncology. Besides that, we have opened up for the young up-and-coming scientists who are doing their honors, the young people who were born in 2000s and coming from poor backgrounds. They are coming in now. They are asking about this cancer. They are doing BS honors, they are doing masters, and we have opened up, and it's through PACRI as well, that we are allowing these young people to help us find solutions. Because as I will always say to those who have run the clinics, that ours were just moppers. When you mop the floor, sometimes you collapse of exhaustion. You'd never get time to even realize where the water comes from and even where the tap is. And with the PACRI and these young people that are coming out, they are coming in to do research so that they can tell us what is the better way to mop the floor in the clinic, and telling us that what we have been doing for the past 10 years is no longer applicable today. Not only that, they will also help us identify the tap that we can close so that mopping never becomes an issue for the coming generations. Thank you very much.
Next up is Professor Mike Saterre, who's the head of nuclear medicine and part of the PACRI Management Committee.
Thank you, Chairperson Dr. Tulu. As mentioned, protocol observed, because I would be mentioning some of the names that I have to thank here. And really, this is a great occasion. So, this is a wonderful launch that we find ourselves here. And on behalf of the PACRI management, the Faculty of Health Sciences, and of course the University of Pretoria, one would like to thank all of you and the organizers for putting such a great event here. This is a remarkable and clearly a hearty vote of thanks to all of you. Of course, this would be the beginning of many things to come, and the dignitaries that spoke yesterday and today, of course, we all thank them in absentia today. A very big thank, of course, to the VC, Prof. Kupe, the DVC Maharaj, the Dean, Prof. Dijaher, and the Deputy Deans for the University for supporting the institution PACRI, and then, of course, to our CEO of the hospital, Dr. Matawa Matebula, for actually making sure that this is also going to collaborate with PACRI very well. We are really appreciative of such structures that can be in our fold. Now, of course, the important thing to the founding director, Prof. Dlamini, this is your baby, this is your vision, and really, we are so thankful that really we have this mission that is really being realized. And of course, you are able to get all the cancer researchers together. This is a very excellent thing to do. As you all know, that a great achievement have always been born out of a combination of different viewpoints. You really need to have different viewpoints if you're going somewhere. And those viewpoints, of course, include diversity. And that's critical, and that's what you are doing in PACRI, and we really appreciate and welcome that. If you do have the inclusivity that we have to strive for at PACRI, we will open the minds and will unlock potentials that will actually solve the cancer problems. And we are very, very thankful. And colleagues, let's really thank again Prof. Dlamini for that. Now to the speakers that spoke here, we are thankful, Elise, for your support as cancer. We hope that as cancer would be looking for information and more projects. You'll look forward to PACRI to really come forward and work with us. And we're thankful to Elizabeth Veidepas, who has opened the doors for PACRI to be part and parcel of the international agency. This is really commendable, and we will welcome that. And of course, to a very great friend of mine, Prof. Glenda Gray, from the MRC. We know that you and Elise, you are supporting the very poor institutions. You have actually made sure that you change the narrative that MRC has had in the past to make sure that indeed MRC is going to really lay a playing ground to be clear for everyone and to make it participatory. And hence PACRI is also benefiting. We really say you must continue to do such. And of course, we have to say that the likes of Lungi and Zoda had also been part and parcel of your initiatives in doing that. We are thankful to that. We are thankful to Prof. Fulofelo Enolumondo, the CEO of NRF. We are sure that you will support more and more candidates that comes from the level of course, MSCs and arts. We also should look into supporting sometimes the unfortunate honors students that might help to be obviously the associates. Please look after them, and especially with the homes such as PACRI that will be there, that would be helpful. As I have mentioned, the CEO is supportive, and of course making sure that, as Prof. Zora has included us, that the Numera is going to be part and parcel of this institute. We are thankful. To our international Italian colleague, Prof. Marco Fionni, really continue to work with us. There's lots of things that we'll work and do together. That's really appreciated. Dave, you are a big friend. I think at this stage you do probably have a second passport to be with Zoe and us all the time, and we appreciate the fact that we are looking forward to the sandwich PhDs with your institution, and PACRI is thankful to that and continue to really do that. To the DG, Dr. Phil Majwara, really your vision for the DSI, and of course it's really commendable, and we are sure that you will clearly support PACRI. And of course, I think you also have mentioned the word of two that I think the Deputy Minister has heard, that via your money, you are supporting him via Numera to the tune of 450 million, that the benefits are for him and him only. I hope the Deputy Minister has said that. And of course, to the Deputy Minister himself, we are so thankful that you could come here. We know that, of course, this is a weekend and there's lots of pressures and lots of things that you have to do. But you clearly are showing the priority, where your priority lies. It's really with cancer, and it's really in helping the people. We appreciate such moves because sometimes we know that our politicians, and we have to actually say it as it is, do prioritize wrong things at times. And we really are thankful that you are here and with us. And of course, to a friend, colleague, Rich, this is commendable that really your department can work closely with the PACRI, because, of course, as one has said, we cannot do it alone. Together we can do more. I hope Program Director One has not left the speakers that have been here, that should be thanked. But if it has been so, it's because probably I think I've thanked all the speakers, I think, yes. So we really are inspired by all your messages and the presentations that have been here. VC, University of Pretoria is well positioned to actually go forward and take the lead. As we are a world-class university, I think this can only make matters better, that to realize what has been said during the day, that cancer, it's amongst other things, a genetic disease, and really you are going to see papers and outputs that are going to come and actually fulfill that narrative, as has been expressed by many other people here. And finally, I would like to really place on record a very hearty thanks to all of us here, entirely all of us, without excluding anyone, and really saying that the Department of Health, the university, PACRI, the hospital, and all the funders, the CEOs, we are really commending you to really continue to work with us. We are saying that we are because of others. In the language, the third language of University of Pretoria, we say motoke motoka batho. Thank you.
So, as we reach the end of our evening, we'd just like, to really say that we are going to be doing quite a lot for cancer in this country. And hopefully, one day when I'm seeing a patient in my clinic and the cancer is progressing and there is no further treatments, I can take that patient's sample, walk right over to PACRI, come back with an answer of the sequences that are going on and use a drug that's specific to that patient. Hopefully that will happen in the very near future. We'd just like to thank as well the organizing committee, because this has been quite a splendid event. We'd like to thank Ms. Botle Precious, and if she could please come up to the stage. Different order, it seems that she's doing all the work still. So, Prof. Zodo, could you please come up to the stage so we can just give you a small token of our appreciation as PACRians? Oh, you've already? Yes, we're giving you flowers. What?
So this is just for the members of the organizing committee, with Prof, of course, being at the top of that. I know they are all sleep deprived. It has been a hectic, 2 years, of course, but these last 2 weeks in particular have been a lot. So this is just a small token of our appreciation, Prof, for the work that you have done.
Next up, could we please have Ms. Dimitra Dimitriou on stage? Demi does quite a lot for the Institute. She's the one we bother with all our emails and organizing our meetings and making sure that everyone shows up where they need to be. Next up, can we please have Dr. Rodney Howe, who's a postdoctorate fellow at PACRI. He's also instrumental in a lot of the research publications that we work on at the Institute.
And breaks down genomics for us.
Next up, we'd like Dr. Rea Bamarima. She's also a postdoctoral fellow at the Institute and is very helpful in all that we need in terms of research at the Institute. Yeah, she is. Next up, we'd like Ms. Botle Precious Sitlai, who does a lot of the heavy lifting, including her own flowers that she'll be getting today, but we appreciate her quite a lot.
So, just, to acknowledge really the PACRI team and the PACRI management team, and in particular for tomorrow, Prof and Rodney and Rahaba and Demi. We do a lot of journal clubs, progress reports. I mean, Prof has got a program that is just, and it's, mostly Saturday mornings because there is no time during the week to be able to do the work. And I kind of was hoping, we're busy with Genomics 101. I needed to hear it a second time, so we're doing the second round this year, and I'm finally getting it. And I thought because of the launch and all the stuff that's been going on, we'd actually get tomorrow morning off. And we're not. So we've been given an email, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, there will be work happening. So Prof is quite committed to making this thing work and to making it into a success. Thank you.
No, cancer must be very scared where it is. People are not even taking breaks on Saturdays. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we'd like to conclude the proceedings of the day. Please enjoy your desserts.